For nearly 2 centuries, Earth stood before the Galactic Council not as an equal, but as a petitioner. Humanity had reached the stars later than most civilizations and arrived in a galaxy already divided among ancient powers whose empires stretched across thousands of systems. The council chambers, carved into the core of an artificial moon older than human civilization itself, had witnessed the rise and fall of species that considered themselves immortal. And when Earth's representatives first entered those halls, they were greeted with polite smiles, hiding quiet contempt. Humanity was young, divided by recent wars, and technologically inferior to nearly every member state. The councillors listened to humanity's request for membership, security guarantees, and access to interstellar trade routes, with expressions that ranged from boredom to amusement. Their verdict came swiftly and without debate. Earth was rejected. Officially, the Council cited concerns regarding humanity's political instability, military aggression in its own history, and insufficient technological maturity. Unofficially, everyone understood the truth. The great powers of the galaxy saw humanity as primitive apes who had somehow stumbled into space ahead of schedule. The rejection humiliated Earth. Trade agreements vanished overnight. Colonial permits were denied. Human vessels were forced into unfavorable routes through dangerous frontier sectors, while established species enjoyed protected corridors under Council protection. Pirates learned quickly that attacking human convoys carried few consequences, and corporations from older empires exploited Earth with contracts designed to keep humanity dependent on imported technology and resources. Across the solar system, anger replaced disappointment. Many demanded retaliation, others isolation. But eventually, humanity chose a third option: silence. Earth withdrew from galactic politics entirely. Human ambassadors returned home. Embassies closed. Trade missions disappeared. For the first time in modern galactic history, an emerging civilization voluntarily walked away from the Council's influence. The galaxy interpreted the silence as surrender. Some believed humanity had collapsed economically. Others assumed internal conflicts had consumed the species once more. A few council members occasionally joked about the failed experiment called Earth during diplomatic gatherings. Years became decades. Decades became generations. Human space vanished behind expanding exclusion zones and encrypted communication networks. No merchant fleets entered Sol. No diplomats emerged from Earth. The galaxy forgot humanity because it believed humanity no longer mattered. Then came the Carthan expansion. The Carthan Dominion was an empire born from conquest and sustained by fear. Their fleets moved from system to system with mathematical efficiency, demanding tribute or annihilation. Entire member worlds of the Galactic Council fell within months. The ancient alliances that had dominated galactic politics for millennia fractured under pressure. Fleets once considered invincible were shattered. Fortress worlds burned. Refugees crossed the stars in numbers unseen in recorded history. The Council convened emergency sessions, but debates and resolutions could not stop plasma bombardments or orbital invasions. One by one, the great powers retreated toward their core territories, abandoning frontier colonies to buy time. Desperation forced the Council to review old records in search of allies they had ignored or forgotten. And there, buried beneath 2 centuries of bureaucracy, was the name Earth. A request for contact was sent to Sol. Days passed without response. Another message followed, then another. Finally, a transmission arrived from the edge of the solar system. It contained only 7 words. Humanity remembers the Council's decision clearly. Panic spread through the chamber. Some argued that Earth would refuse assistance out of spite. Others feared humanity might join the Dominion in exchange for revenge against those who had rejected them. Yet before further debate could begin, long-range sensors across Council space detected something impossible. thousands of vessels emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation. The signatures were unknown. The designs matched no registered ship class. At first, analysts assumed it was the advance guard of the Dominion invasion force. They were wrong. The fleet transmitted a single identification code recognized by every database in existence. United Earth Defense Command. Humanity had returned. The first ships that entered Council territory were not sleek diplomatic cruisers or cargo vessels. They were warships, massive carriers surrounded by escort destroyers, missile frigates, autonomous drone tenders, and battleships so large that some sensors initially classified them as stations rather than mobile vessels. Their hulls carried scars from conflicts no one in the galaxy even knew had occurred. Their engines generated power outputs previously considered impossible outside experimental reactors. Entire sections of their fleets consisted of unmanned combat platforms controlled by quantum-linked battle intelligences, operating faster than biological reaction times could match. Behind them came logistics fleets capable of constructing shipyards in orbit within days and repairing damaged vessels while battles were still underway. Humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing not for acceptance, but for survival. While the galaxy argued politics, Earth had transformed every asteroid in its system into industry. Mars became a fortress world. The moons of Jupiter housed manufacturing complexes stretching beneath oceans of ice. Saturn's rings had been harvested to build orbital foundries larger than cities. Humanity had not disappeared. Humanity had industrialized on a scale the galaxy had never imagined. When the Carthan fleets entered Council territory, expecting another easy victory, they encountered human defensive formations waiting in absolute silence. The battle over Arcturus Station lasted 19 minutes. The Carthan lost 400 ships. Human losses numbered 3 destroyers and 1 frigate. Military analysts from every species watched recordings repeatedly, unable to understand what they were seeing. Human vessels fought differently. They embraced tactics older civilizations considered barbaric or inefficient. They overwhelmed enemy sensors with drone swarms numbering in the millions. They sacrificed ships to create openings for larger strategic victories. Their commanders adapted within minutes instead of relying on centuries-old doctrines. Most terrifying of all was humanity's industrial capacity. Every destroyed human vessel seemed to be replaced by 3 more within weeks. The Dominion, which had conquered half the galaxy through superior production and logistics, suddenly found itself facing an opponent capable of matching and eventually surpassing its output. Campaign after campaign ended with human victories. Entire occupied systems were liberated. Refugees returned home under the protection of human escorts. For the first time since the war began, the Dominion began retreating. Eventually, the final confrontation came above the shattered remains of the Council capital itself. The Dominion assembled everything it had left for one decisive strike. Thousands of ships filled the void between stars. Council leaders prepared evacuation plans and extinction contingencies. Then the human fleet arrived. Not hundreds of ships, not thousands, tens of thousands. The largest mobilization in recorded galactic history. At the center of the formation traveled Earth's flagship, a vessel nearly 30 kilometers long, carrying enough firepower to challenge planetary defenses alone. As the fleets prepared for battle, the Council received a transmission from the human admiral commanding the armada. His message contained no threats, no demands, and no mention of past grievances. You rejected us because you believed humanity was too dangerous, too aggressive, and too unpredictable to stand among you. Perhaps you were right, but today those are the reasons your civilizations survive. The battle that followed entered history as the day the stars burned. When it ended, the Dominion ceased to exist as a military power. Across the galaxy, celebrations erupted as liberated worlds finally saw peace return to their skies. Months later, representatives from every surviving civilization gathered once more in the same council chamber where humanity had once been dismissed. This time there was no debate, no objections, no vote was required. The council offered Earth permanent membership and a leadership position among the great powers of the galaxy. Humanity accepted, but only after adding a single line to the council charter for all future civilizations seeking entry. No species shall ever be judged by what it is when it first reaches the stars, but by what it chooses to become. The inscription was carved into the chamber wall beneath the flags of every member world, a permanent reminder that the civilization once rejected as insignificant had returned not with petitions or requests, but with warships, and in doing so had saved the very galaxy that had turned its back on them.